he puts all these numbers together and comes out with this business concept that's worth this much. Like it's so big.
Million,
Yeah.
whatever.
Because this translates to you as an American to 34.6 million. We're like, let's do this. Let's come up with the next $34.6 million idea. Let's go. Let's go be the three people that Rob's talking about. But I think as we went through the process, we learned that this doesn't really help move the needle as far as what motivates you to take action in the same sort of concept that we have. I think there's a video here that we'd like to show that kind of sums up really what we've learned in connection with venture discovery through this process.
Steve Jobs, a single valuable piece of advice he'd give us in an attempt to create some of the value that you guys have done in those very impressive companies.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, you're not having fun doing it, you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful love what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit, because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it, you got to have passion.
I think, it sums up perfectly. I don't need to elaborate on it anymore. Really, this next slide sums up a lot of the things that we talked about as a group that identified where we were passionate, where we had expertise, where our preparation was leading us to things that, could potentially be a business in some way, shape, or form. The bottom left one was trying to sum up Hassan's idea about some of the book recommendations that we have. Not with Free Flowers so much, but ultimately this notion of what Hassan's really good at is this algorithm and coming up with ways for people to find interesting things. Scott Bird loves oils and he took care of oils, so much so that my wife does. I love my wife, so but a rotating oil diffuser is one of our concepts. But at the end of the day, each one of us came to the table with very different passion and expertise. But we did, eventually come to a single concept that we felt was worth exploring and was worth enough of each one of our individual efforts to put some time and energy forward to for this project. And the concept that we've kind of been toying with and playing with is around this notion of the power of persuasion. I think a lot of you will be somewhat familiar with these metrics to some degree. But what the data is telling us about traditional means of advertising is that brands and companies continue to spend billions of dollars in advertising to consumers like every one of us. However, Americans, consumers, feel that traditional advertising isn't that effective. It's not really a trusted source for us to make buying decisions about what we buy, whether it's a laptop computer, whether it's a pair of jeans, a pair of shoes, a watch, doesn't really matter. But what we're seeing and what brands are starting to understand is that buying decisions are being based upon consumers finding out about things through trusted sources. Those trusted sources are friends, colleagues, family members, basically social networks that allow us to connect with people and things that we're passionate about. So the concept that we're playing with is around this wave that's really taking a lot of venture money going towards this, but it's this notion of discovered commerce, where as brands are able to tap into these trusted sources as allies to direct traffic to their websites, they're able to see bigger returns on their advertising dollars than what traditional advertising is letting them do. So this particular one, Constable, 40 to 150 times more likely to consume branded content in the news feed than visit a fan page itself, right? So people aren't necessarily going to a brand's fan page to find out information. A visitor coming from a social media site are more likely to make a purchase online than another visitor. So after they've found out about a product through some sort of social media site, are making and converting at much higher levels than other individuals. This last one, 67% of shoppers spend more online after recommendations from online community of friends. So this notion of trusted sources, trusted advisors in the buying decision-making process is really what has fueled some of our thought process. So in terms of turn it over to Matt here to talk about some analog and analog.
Okay, if we looked at this concept of social commerce, as Sean mentioned, the growth is just outrageous. So to find analogs and analogs is just not an issue at all. What we were trying to do is find companies that were similar enough in some of what we thought were our unique concepts, and then some that had similarities but also botched a lot of things that were educational for us. So before I go into this and kind of describing these, as Sean mentioned, we were looking at products in a general space. So we're looking at clothing and electronics and some of these other things. But what was interesting about some of the research that I did is I was looking through these companies and we started to talk about it. One of the big or kind of the anchor of kind of all of these sites and the social commerce is fashion. It's crazy. So, in the fashion industry, $400 billion of sales.
Fashion industry.
Yeah, and that's not a number that came from LEG, that's a real actual number.
So does that represent, when you say fashion, does that include everything from Old Navy to Rag and Bone, or is there some?
Yes, it's taking into account all of it, from high fashion, right? Now, I know that this gets a little bit confusing because what's high fashion in one person is obviously different to another. But most of what these sites are, or what we're comparing to, are high end. But this is a total number, 400 million. So obviously the market is huge. So as we look at, and again, that's just fashion. That is just fashion retail. As we look at some of our analogs, and Rob can help out because I don't want to butcher this. I don't speak French, or some of you do, but this Vente Privé, whatever it is, this was probably our biggest analog. And not to geek you guys out, but to drive home what Sean said. Oh, and by the way, a note on this, 400 million, 97% of these transactions still happen in the store physically. Only 3% of these are happening online, is what I pulled up from statistics. Which will tie in a little bit, which is kind of interesting when we look at some of these other concepts that we're comparing to. But for instance, yeah. Go ahead. Of these sales
Are still happening
are
on
still happening in store, right? Fashion sales, yes.
Oh, good. And is this, should I, when you're talking about this stuff, should I assume that that's a number representing the U.S. market, or is that the number that's the worldwide market?
This number right here is a worldwide market.
Okay, so that seems completely reasonable, because you can imagine, like, somewhere, like, Shanghai would.
So, not to geek out on this, and I brought cards because I don't want to misstate numbers, but to give you guys an idea, like this Vente Privé, this is a French company, started in 2001. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit on kind of our concept, or what we started as a concept, and then as these guys talk more about some of the testing and the dashboards and statistics that we went through, kind of how it's kind of evolving. But our concept originally was an idea of using personal relationships and social commerce and recommendations to be able to to sell items or be able to have kind of this just bought it thing, where I buy something, I take a picture of it, and I post it on this site and say, I love this shirt, I just bought it, and it would immediately have a link that goes to a transactional place that you can buy the shirt. In its most simplest terms, that's kind of what we're looking at. Or whether it's a watch, or whether it's a camera, or something like that. So now as we look at some of the analogs and analogs, I'll tell you how they're similar and different, and then what I think is very impressive, or we do, which I think will shock some people in here. So Vente Privé began in 2001 in France, and the idea was that they were going to sell high-end fashion goods, right, that were basically overstocked at discount prices. So they start putting some of these items up, and just kind of to summarize this, they started going off of people that they called influencers. So they had influencers that were posting designer fashion trends online, and then other people were coming in and they would say, okay, here's a designer, we have this much of an item, it's 60% off retail price, right? And immediately they were selling out. Every single thing they put up, they were selling out of. So to give you an idea, in 2012, there's a digital top 100 that comes out that ranks private tech companies. Vente Privé was number 10 on that list, which is pretty substantial. Their valuation is $1.7 billion plus. And to give you an idea of some of the players that are ahead of them on that list, Alibaba, Twitter, Dropbox, Square, these guys sit number 10 on that list. Just recently, too, I think it was 2011, 2012, they partnered up with American Express. They basically bought American Express's client list and said, we want to come stateside into the U.S. Can you guys help us reach our audience? In 2012, 22% sales growth over the previous year. Some of these follow the same thing, but I'll separate them, and then I won't give details on any. You guys can ask me later if you want to ask, but high fashion overstock. Wanalo is more of a social site where you have friends, and the script of the social site is different, but still the same thing, where you're posting items, or items are posted through the company, through buyers that they have, or companies that they're associated with. Fancy is very similar. One of the unique things about Fancy is that you can fancy an item, right, and then it categorizes it, and then you can see who else has fancied it. So some of these technological things, as far as you can see what Ashton Kutcher fancies, because I know that's probably appealing to a lot of you, but he's actually a backer in that company. Fab, supply, and some of the interactions of the way they work are different. Some of them are taking high fashion, overstock, and selling it. Some are just posting random items for sale, and then encouraging the social recommendations from others. So that's analogs. And instead, like I said, of giving you stats on all those, but they're actually quite impressive. I'll talk about some of the analogs. Swirl here is an interesting company. It's definitely a standout amongst the group. Again, social commerce, but the way they drive is very different. So when they started, they actually wanted to create this social communication, but what they do is they pull you, or they push you, I should say, to a local store to supply the product that you want to buy. So they actually play off of this 97% of these fashion sales still happening in stores. And what they did is they went and partnered up with some of the biggest stores, Macy's, Nordstrom's, huge names that we all know. And when you go on Swirl and you see an item that you like, it immediately pushes you to the closest physical location that you can get. That's the way that they began. And their whole idea was, well, we're going to be different. When everybody else is zigging, we're going to be zagging. We're going to still use physical space because we know that that's actually where more transactions are happening. And since then, actually, they've They now do both. They now have mobile. Biosphere is another good analog. One, because I will tell you, all of these companies, you talk about venture funding, huge venture funding dollars. All of these companies, huge venture funding. Guild, $140 million raised in venture funding. And don't ask me why this, but the Japanese are all over it. It's crazy. They have one group called SoftBank that gets involved in a lot of this stuff. So Swirl's interesting. The other one that's interesting, Poshmark is very interesting. The concept is still the social commerce, but it's selling items that you own. So this is mainly driven by females, but it's basically, look inside my closet. These are items that I want to sell. What do you have in your closet? We're going to make this direct transaction.
And that's Poshmark.
Poshmark.
It's interesting, these companies just do there's a whole, each one of them has some big note, some core thing that they're doing different.
They're trying to, because as you can imagine, it's very hard to separate yourself from all of the other people that want to play in this space. It's very hard. And as I mentioned before, you look at Vente Privé, working with American Express. Supply here was bought by eBay. Fab, I mean, some of the stuff, it blows your mind. Sales last year were up 300% year over year the year before. And they're number 69 in the digital top 100. So as you look at these, the important part that we took out of it is obviously as we go to test these things and we want to be able to experiment and see what things are working with our concept versus others. They all have very unique lessons, and that you see that the venture capital money is available in this space. There's a lot of it, but you see companies that are doing well enough to then go big scale with others, and then other companies like this Biosphere that they raised a lot of venture capital money as well, but they just kind of fizzled. It's a New York group, basically 4 friends, and they were kind of living the high life, and they got trampled by these others. And now that they're trying to get back re-entrenched, it's too late. Guild has a phenomenal executive team. They've done really well, but they haven't been profitable up until just recently. And it's interesting, they started driving fashion and they had such a good response. They were like, this is sweet. We're going to do trips. We're going to do wine. We're going to do all sorts of things. And actually they got so focused on getting some of these other things going that they were not profitable and it was crashing some of their other attention, and some of these others were really growing. So anyway, that being said, these types of things and analyzing these types of things and learning what is working, how are they managing their supply, are they actually warehousing stuff, are they kicking people, do you go to Fancy and then click on the transaction, it kicks you to the Nordstrom website, or can you buy it directly? Those types of things started to drive some of the questions that we have.
Just a quick question. How many people heard of Wanaloop before this presentation? I'm sorry, what was that? How many people knew of Wanaloop before this presentation? What about Fancy? I knew about the Fancy.
I know about Fancy.
All right. And Bon Prix, I know about Guild supply.
That's interesting. And what we're seeing is there's a lot of these little waves that are coming in this discovery commerce area, this industry. But what we're trying to figure out here is how can we start to connect people to the purchases that those other people are making? For example, if I like what Ken wears, and I'm a pretty stylish person, black t-shirts, the beautiful dress shoes, I want to connect with him, and I want to see what purchases he's making. Or maybe I like riding bikes, and I want to go to Rob and I want to connect with him because I know he's an avid bicyclist and he's a hardcore runner or whatever else, and I want to see what he's purchasing, and the odds are that I will be more likely to purchase that as well if I'm a friend and following that, and there's clearly a lot of money to be made in this area. But we thought it was a good idea. We just wanted to go to the market. They thought it was a good idea. So what we did was we started to put together a survey. all of us took that class. She's awesome. It was a great class. Her glasses look a little bit like Ross from Monsters Inc., but other than that, she's phenomenal. And it was a great class. So Qualtrics has a phenomenal survey program, and it's free to business students, echoes.qualtrics.com. It's very professional. We put together a survey. We started with about 20 plus questions, and we had lots of interesting things to find out if this is a concept that people would like, and what about that concept would we change based off of their feedback. But ultimately, we wanted to make this simple. We wanted to get as many responses as possible. We wanted to keep it simple. So our main goal was to understand who's interested, validate this concept. Who would be interested in just following friends' purchases, not finding out what their toddler did this morning, not seeing what recipes they like, but just the purchases. Who's interested in that? And also, what does that demographic look like? Are they younger? Are they older? What's their income like? Are they single? Are they married? Male? Female? And so we came up with 10 questions. Secondary goal was to obtain contact information so we could further test those individuals, both those who were interested and those who were not, so we could figure out what we could change to get that demographic interested as well. We had an interesting title. Maybe you don't kiss and tell, but do you buy and tell to try to attract people? And also, Sean was able to throw in some free skull candy aviator headphones to give away to one person who took the survey. So we went out, 10 questions, we got about 225 responses, and
Can you help me understand how when you say you got 225 responses, how did you find these people? How did that happen?
so through our own social networks, we posted it. Plus, our own offices, for example, Matt in his office, he was telling everybody that came in to go and take it.
Oh, cool.
Likewise, so word of mouth, email, social networks. Given that our target is likely going to be people that are on social networks, we thought it was a good place to find those individuals. So, just real quick, I'll ask you a couple of the questions we put on the survey for a few of you just for fun. Ashley. What is your annual income? Just kidding. I have to ask you, how inclined are you to purchase a product based off of a friend's recommendation? Very inclined, some inclined, or not inclined at all?
I would say somewhat inclined.
Okay. David, how interested are you in seeing what others buy that have similar interests as you do? All right. Jonathan, how much time do you spend on average on Facebook each day? 10 minutes? You're
Is it the wrong spot?
Yeah, I was going to say, just in Rob's class or outside as well?
Oh, I didn't understand the question. Yeah.
Okay, we asked the same about Twitter and LinkedIn to better understand where people are going, where they're spending their time. Another question, Amy, which social networking sites do you use right now to see what friends are buying? If any.
Don't rat your friend out. Hey, don't. Please, no, don't.
Okay, a couple of the questions were, how interested would you be in a website that allowed you to follow friends' recent purchases exclusively? And also, how interested would you be in a website that allows you to upload your recent purchases exclusively? And it was interesting, the results we got there, because we'll find out, as Sean will share with us, a lot of people would like to follow other individual purchases, but they're somewhat timid to putting their own purchases online.
The other thing that's missing here is you get this enchanting, I didn't see in anything analog or analog. I have another life problem, but I have a few life problems. You identified one of them. One is I'd really like, but I'm embarrassed to ask Ken where he got his awesome black t-shirt, right? Because if I know Ken really well, sort of lame to want to be besties with him and like get shirts like he does. But I really want to know what shirt he got because he looks cool. I also have the problem that you described, which is I'm more likely to want to purchase. I have very little, and this is built off Swarm Builder or what's the name of their company? Experticity, which is Experticity's hypothesis, customer hypothesis is I, as an avid athlete, am less interested in the recommendations that Tim Johnson, famous sponsored cyclocross rider, when you ask Tim Johnson, what do you like disc brakes, Tim? I love disc brakes. They are the most amazing thing that's ever been created in the history of cycling. Everyone should upgrade to disc brakes, right? I don't want, it's not helpful. But there is a guy named Dr. Grumpy. His name is Daryl Davis. He lives in Salt Lake. He's a PhD professor. And anytime I have any cyclocross questions, I have him on speed dial during the winter, and I go, Daryl, should I get disc brakes? And he goes, disc brakes is ridiculous. You don't want disc brakes and you and he gives me all the reasons. So I'm way more interested in receiving recommendations from individuals that I know and trust, especially ones in my local network. And then the third thing the other problem that you didn't get this to, here's one that you may find interesting or you may not. I would really like it if the stylish women in my life could recommend clothes to me because I don't know what to wear and I look like crap.
So on that, Rob, one of the tests, so whatever, I looked at all the sites, but there's one that you like,
Is that
the Trunk Club.
So I want a stylist, and I know I can go to LA and get a stylist. Right? So it's a style problem. So I want to look awesome. I know that I'm failing. I can go to LA and pay someone to do that for me, right, with giving them my measurements. But what would just be most awesome is the people that I most want to think that I look awesome is my freaking social network. It's the same, this is the variant of that problem, which is I don't really care what the people on the streets think about me, but I really care what my 35 people in my in-group, when I wear my cool, this is my latest awesome thing, my camouflage sweater. Because this is totally boss. One of my friends and I were walking down the street and he was like, oh my god, that thing's totally awesome. And I was like, so I went and I got online to figure out that I'd do all this work to find camo cardigan. I found out it's something, a Ralph Lauren, and then I had to go on the eBay and get it. It would have been much easier for someone to recommend this awesome cardigan because this thing looks awesome and I look awesome in it. Am I not?
So I have a solution to this. My wife has incredible taste.
Yes.
Every day she goes to bed saying, it really sucks that my husband wears black t-shirts and jeans every single day. I can dress him really well.
But I'm just working through creatively. You might ask this class other similar or adjacent problems that you face that are very similar. The ones you got, I totally believe them. They're incredible to me. I understand them and I live them. And I just wanted to share one more that I have, which is I actually don't care about what total strangers think about my outfit. I could care less. What I care about is when I roll in, wear my camo thing, these guys at the foundry go, oh, that's freaking awesome. And I go, yeah, I'm awesome. That's what I care about.
And two things that we also thought about in the report is obviously just explain some of the survey results. When someone like Ken posts his shirt and he says the name of the shirt, how do we make it so that somebody can click on that and you can see 4 or 5 places to purchase that? So you're driving traffic, whether it's sourced from us internally or we outsource it like some of these analogs that Matt was talking about. Second, as you start posting purchases, kind of like a Netflix or Amazon, you start to get, or even Facebook for that example, you get recommendations of friends that you should connect with because your buying behaviors are most similar to them, and then you start to just strengthen that relationship and increase the probability of somebody purchasing the product. So Husam's going to share with us some of these wonderful survey statistics that we were able to find out.
So while you're doing that, tell me, as soon as you're ready, but is anyone living into this problem? Is this a real problem or just a fake real problem?
Are you guys talking strictly fashion, or are you talking just any, obviously it's not really fashion, right? Yeah, I mean, to me it's fashion, but I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so I work actually for Experticity, so I live and breathe this kind of stuff all day, every day, and there's really nothing out there that's focused on the outdoor industry, which is a huge market as well. So I mean, we're kind of exploring lots of different markets to answer your question, like skis and all sorts of stuff. So.
I just want to attest to kind of what's out there, sort of social commerce idea. We're doing Pinterest, right? Is that when they have these trends, you can click on it, but it
heart, you hope that you can buy.
Yes.
That's, I mean, that emotive thing is really helpful because a lot of folks resonate with that. It's like, look, I mean, from a messaging perspective, all we're doing is allowing, creating that.
Two of my most recent purchases for me personally are like two things that came from this very concept in like the real world where I've been thinking about a Nest thermostat for a while, and I just wasn't sure if it would work in my house, and a guy that I trust a lot about that kind of stuff was like, oh, I just bought a Nest, and it's the coolest thing ever, and he pulled up his app on his phone. I was like, done. Went Amazon, bought it, came 2 days later and installed it. The other one was like the Sonos device that you guys have maybe seen for like home automation for audio. It connects all your like different music sources to all of your speakers throughout your house and whatnot. But that was from another friend. So I think it depends on what you're into and who you trust in those markets. There's a big difference.
So, one advice about conducting surveys. I know that they always tell us keep the questions short, the number of questions, keep them like up to 10, because people, they don't like to take surveys. Turns out also it's better for analysis. With each additional question, you actually, the number of correlations you can make grows exponentially, and it becomes difficult to separate the noise from the real data. Anyway, get back to this and to the point that I believe Scott was raising. The blue is the interest people have in seeing what others bought, and the lower the number, the more the interest. The classification here is like male versus female, and then the age group. In general, the blue lines on the female side are lower, showing more interest. The red line is the interest in uploading pictures that we take. And as we expected, people are less interested in uploading pictures. Now, initially I did have a WPF. I thought that fills the concept. Like, but yeah, this is where everyone will stop, right? In the whole world, everyone stopped here because this is a behavioral, right? You're driving into a survey result that represents a deep behavioral problem, which is people like consuming stuff, and 80% of the material you're consuming is reposted. Tumblr is a whole bunch of reposted content, and so there's a small number of people creating, a large number of people viewing and consuming, and I'm unsurprised that as a result. But the question was, does it actually kill the idea? And once I started thinking about these other websites, it doesn't really kill it because usually, this is not a real supply and demand. The supply can scale to any demand, meaning that one supplier, I post something on Facebook and 20 people see it. So it's okay to have fewer people who are interested in posting as long as I have the demand. I'm proud of you. So effectively, thank you. I'm super proud of you. You guys as a group just leveled up beyond every venture capital firm that thinks about this problem. You do that, you show them that, you go, obviously this is an intractable problem, behavioral problem, and we should just walk away from it because it's hardwired in humans. What you're saying is no, right? It is an asymmetric relationship between supply and demand in this case. Yeah, is that very insight that got you Tumblr, by the way? Well done. And I know we're actually kind of running out of time. So that was one interesting thing. Another thing, I tried to know for this service we were trying to build how gauging the level of interest, and the M is male, female, and yes and no. So a lot of males they weren't interested in testing. The highest, so this is, as you can see, this is like the number of males, and interestingly, more men were interested as a percentage than women in this service. This is what this it's a seed. I think it's a seed for another experiment if we really want to validate this idea. But as of now, I don't really know the answer to it.
See some of this data from the surveys that we
Yes.
And I'm just curious, is it possible just based on the people in the survey?
Yeah, might be.
You're talking about probably.
We brought that up, we said, who are my friends, who are your friends, and
Yeah,
at the end
we're
of the
all
day,
business savvy.
you're right.
This is, however, not a count. This is a percentage of the total. Right.
Can anyone speculate as to why?
Are most of your friends guys and most people you work with guys?
I think the biggest skew would be the age. I mean, I'm not friends with a lot of 14 to 16-year-old girls. So
That's probably good.
You get it. Just for that.
I can tell you in just having discussions, a lot of my clients have a business, so I interact with a lot of people. A lot of my clients, based on the survey, were either very nervous or very intimidated or were reading too much into it. So for instance, we learned one of the interesting things is like, we put a fashion question on there, and what I found out from all of, I train athletes, but all of my high school boys that answered it, which are very into fashion, they go to school every day and it's the certain hat and the certain this, just by the word fashion, they were like, oh, I'm not gay. I don't deal with fashion. So if we want to put product or item, things like that that you don't necessarily think of, have a much bigger play on some of the survey demographic you got. So some of my females would say, well, who gets to see what I'm posting on there, right? Because I don't want to post if this is like open to the world. Well, we didn't specifically say if you post, only these people that you're friends with are going to see. So all of this stuff takes more testing, but it's very interesting when you start pulling in the stats and then you're having face-to-face conversations. You're like, whoa, you took it that way or you took it this way? Completely different.
So a breakdown by for in terms of recommendation. The question was how inclined are you to purchase a product based on friends' recommendation? Again, this was kind of expected. Females scored higher interest than males, especially in this age group. Unfortunately, the unspecified also scores high. What we can. So intuition here is lower bar. Lower means more. And another thing for your survey, think about how you want to graph it.
So you graph 0 being the most likely.
The most
to-
interest.
Yeah. I've
Because
done that
the
before.
scale in Qualtrics, it starts from, like if you want to start from left to right, the default is lower value to higher value. Yeah.
So moving forward with the business, a couple of the lingering questions we have and tests that we'll need to move forward with. We identified 4, there's probably more than that, but at least initially, the one question we have, we'll need further testing, is which platform to use to acquire customers. We develop one website and try and bring people to that website, or we somehow build off of profiles on Facebook as well as Pinterest and somehow be able to bring that in to where we can have a large customer base. Private users initially rather than start with ground zero. Secondarily, we want to keep this as a pure social network site or more of a hybrid. That is, we want users to simply post something and rely on their networks to view that. That is the items that they post, but we want to somehow have some type of power given to the companies or ourselves where we can actually push product out there for people to view. Thirdly, distribution channel. When people do click on an item, we want that link directly to a few businesses that can supply that, or we want to be the middle persons where we actually acquire that item and ship it out, or we want to have some type of inventory. Again, you can do further testing on that. And then lastly, just the overall business structure. Again, we want to keep this to where our web users or customers post something and they do it more of out of fun and excitement, sharing purchases with those who are close with them, network, or do we want to somehow compensate individuals for making certain posts so that as people click on that item, there's some type of points accrual system or even money that's generated by the person that's posting that item. Again, there's websites that kind of do both. There's some things we can look at as well.
That's it. Any questions or thoughts?
What's the hardest nut to crack here? If you're going to make this work.
I don't know, I'm just kind of being cynical a little bit, but there's I kind of wonder, there's that I won't buy online, right? Like buying clothes online is kind of scary to me, right? Because I could maybe imagine that the reason that he says 2 cents is, I mean, I want to try them on, right? I want to know if they fit, I want to fit them on, but I mean, is there certain markets that would be more apt for this? I mean, I don't know. I mean, just kind of asking that as a question.
That's good. How many people in here have actually purchased clothes online?
Other than t-shirts, like they have t-shirts.
I actually buy some raffles just because if it's not right, I send it back and I'm not.
You know, if we think about that, if that's the case, let's say people are posting clothes, from a business perspective, we might be okay if they're not clicking on something to buy it online because we're able to generate interest that we can then sell to companies who then advertise, and we're making a good amount of money internally from a business perspective that way.
If it's recommended online, I'd be more likely to buy a shirt that I trusted from someone online than just a shirt that has my sign on it. Then I know it's put together right. I mean, I know my Bible maybe is crap, but at least I know it's crap. If you buy it online.
Yeah, especially, Rob, if it's somebody that you trust, right, and they're kind of an expert in whatever field, right? If you were buying a shirt for, hiking or biking or whatever, you wanted to buy a coat to climb Kilimanjaro, you would probably buy it from somebody that's actually done the trek and kind of understands what makes the coat desirable or not.
On the flip side, you can also have a negative effect. Like, if Rob was to buy a shirt, I would be like, no way am I buying it now. And that's why I would post.
But we actually played around with that a little bit because we thought, okay, so what if somebody posts a picture of something that they look quite good in, right? And then you've got somebody that's like, oh yeah, I'm going to look good in that, right? I don't know that I'd look good in the camouflage cardigan, right, that Rob's wearing.
You know, you make a great point though, because something that we can think of doing is kind of like Amazon, where you click on a product that says other people also buy, so similar items that are below. So maybe if it's a nice watch, we also show similar items so you can say, well, I don't want to buy the exact one, but I kind of like the idea. So that's a good thought. Thank you.
So, most of the girls I know that are somewhat trend conscious are fairly protective of the new thing they're finding that they bought. So, say if girl A buys a cool new top, girl B buys it in a different color. Girl A, in the near future, will kill girl B. If you emphasize fashion and restrict it by social networks, it seems like it would have that effect. You'd be trying to essentially sell the social capital that's typically gained by being adventurous in your shopping to other people. I guess you get conflict by asking, giving it away. So why are people going to go in and share the cool thing they got?
Another analog business to think about, and I don't know whether this fashion, to me, that the fashion thing is an interesting hurdle. The asymmetric problem has to get resolved. You have to figure out how to post it. And I would look like there's another kind of immediate thought is Covestor. You know what Covestor is? So Covestor is a website in which you, as an investor, build a model portfolio that either represents your actual trading behavior or a model portfolio that isn't your trading behavior. And people can see the results of your selections, your equity selections, and your portfolio. And people can follow you, and you can actually set it up to mimic their trades. So the behavior pattern, right, is common across
I think,
Yeah, Chris, so to answer that, I think we are not trying to be everything to everyone. And, I mean, we know that some people are interested and some people are not. I mean, going back to the original joke of the $400 billion, if we can capture 5%, no, we're not that delusional. We're going after people who are interested in posting and people who are interested in buying based on that.
Yeah, based on percentages, I mean, I don't know percentages, but I would argue that, as Rob is pointing out, the percentage of people that actually follow kind of a cultural norm is far greater than the outliers that want to be extremely unique. It'd be very hard to be profitable off the extremely unique and track their habits. For the point that you made, they don't want their habits tracked. They don't want people knowing what they're buying. I know in my own life,
oh, go ahead.
the women in my own life that want my wife, my cousin, my aunts that are female particularly, they find a great level of satisfaction when they're able to recommend something to someone else and they actually go do it and purchase that. It's amazing. Like my wife, she's on top. 9, she finds out that a relative, a friend, or whoever it may be, has followed her recommendation and actually purchased it.
Then I would recommend looking at other sites that share music, right? That the underlying algorithm, the behavioral algorithm, is present not in fashion sites, it's present in all these other sites because we do get a charge. I like it when people are following all the things that I'm up to, and I definitely like when people, when I discover new music that other people have, and I definitely like it when people follow the music that I have. So the algorithms are everywhere, right? The underlying latent algorithm is present. It's just a matter of figuring out how to manifest it in software. Experticity is taking a run at this right now, you know.
I was just going to say, you could build on what you were saying and reward people for being trendsetters.
Yeah.
And give them prestige. And then maybe they could get, you could monetize it back to them, give them a kickback of some sort if someone. Anyways, well, I just remember hearing, and I don't know if it's come to fruition, that Facebook was going to try and start tagging the Coke cans in your photos, and if somebody, and then if you allowed that, you would get like a penny for, or something along those lines.
I was going to say, we were talking about this in the further test, and that's the testing we do. And what we're trying to wrestle with is the power, a lot of the power of this concept is how genuine is that recommendation. So when I post a picture of my watch, Sean's going to be more likely to buy it if he knows I'm not getting paid because I put this on there.
I agree.
So there's that genuine concept that increases the likelihood that somebody trusts you. So that's something we have to test as well.
Because there's a thin line between an incentive and a bribe. You have to be careful. Too much incentive will make people just post things and the credibility goes. We just get you some.
Yeah.
So we have 3 other folks, so we're gonna have to unfortunately shut this one down. So sorry, you guys.